Yo, imagine raging at a flashlight because it only works in the dark, or one starring a product for arriving exactly as described. No surprises. These are the wildest, dumbest, most brain cell destroying customer complaints ever from real Americans losing it over products doing their job perfectly. We're talking 61 fresh, no repeats absurd rants that'll have you crying, laughing, and questioning humanity. Straight fire chaos you won't believe is real. If you've ever read an Amazon review and died inside, please hype this video on YouTube to support us, hit subscribe, and let's dive in before your sides split. 1. A middle-aged man stormed into the hardware store with pure rage in his eyes. He slammed a heavy tactical flashlight on the counter and demanded a refund immediately. The confused cashier asked what was wrong with the device. The customer explained that he tried to test the beam in his garden at high noon. He shouted that the light was completely invisible under the bright sun. He claimed the technology was a total scam because it only decided to work when it was dark outside. The manager tried to explain the basic physics of light. The man refused to listen to reason. He left screaming that he paid for 24-hour brightness. 2. A furious woman called customer support to report a defective bottle of premium sunscreen. She screamed that she had just returned from a beach vacation in Florida. She told the agent she was lobster red and peeling everywhere. The support representative asked if she had applied the lotion every 2 hours as instructed on the bottle. The woman went silent for a moment. She admitted she actually left the bottle inside her hotel room the entire trip. She argued that simply buying the product should provide a protective force field around her body. She claimed the label never specifically said the cream had to touch her skin to work. 3. A young man posted a furious review online about his new kitchen gadget. He bought a yellow plastic banana slicer to save time on dinner prep. He tried to force the curved plastic grid through a frozen pepperoni pizza. The slicer snapped in half immediately. He complained that the product description was misleading about slicing capabilities. He argued that if it can cut a fruit, it should cut a crust. He ignored the fact that bananas are soft and pizzas are flat circles. He demanded a heavy-duty steel version. He said his pizza night was completely ruined by the tool. 4. An exhausted woman marched into her local coffee shop with dark circles under her eyes. She slammed a bag of decaf beans on the counter. She accused the barista of poisoning her with energy. She explained she drank 5 large cups right before bed to relax. She stared at the ceiling for 8 hours straight. She was convinced they hid caffeine inside the beans to trick her. The barista asked if she maybe just drank too much liquid. She refused to listen to reason. She claimed her heart rate proved it was high-octane espresso. She demanded a refund immediately. 5. A nervous homeowner wrote a scathing letter to a safety equipment manufacturer. He purchased their most expensive red fire extinguisher for his kitchen. He mounted it on the wall and waited for a month. He was angry that nothing happened. He complained that the device failed to extinguish a single fire in his home. He admitted he never actually had a fire start in the house. He still felt the product was a waste of money if it just sat there. He expected the extinguisher to actively hunt for flames. He called it a lazy red cylinder that did absolutely nothing. 6. A furious mother called the appliance store to return her brand new stainless steel fridge. She screamed that the freezer section was working entirely too well. She bought a box of fruit popsicles for her children. She put them inside for a few hours. She tried to bite into one and nearly chipped a tooth. She complained that the freezer made the ice treats rock hard. She expected them to stay soft and slushy inside the Sub-Zero drawer. She claimed the machine ruined the texture of the dessert. She wanted a freezer that only froze things halfway for easier chewing. 7. A confused teenager returned a full-length mirror to the home goods department. He told the clerk the glass was clearly defective. He stood in front of it and waved his right hand. The reflection waved back with its left hand. He argued that this design flaw made it impossible to comb his hair correctly. He claimed he looked normal in selfies but weird in this specific mirror. He accused the manufacturer of installing the glass pane upside down or backwards. He demanded a mirror that showed him exactly as he saw himself. The clerk just stared at him in silence. 8. A college student left a 1-star review for a luxury bedding company. He ordered a massive king-size down comforter for his dorm room. He unpacked it and threw it onto his tiny, twin mattress. The blanket draped over the sides and covered the entire floor. He complained that he got tangled in the excess fabric every night. He called it a tripping hazard. He blamed the company for sending him too much blanket for his money. He ignored the size chart completely. He said they should have known he slept in a small bed. He felt oversold on the fabric. 9. An angry sportsman stormed into a jewelry shop with a soggy watch. He shouted that the waterproof label was a complete fabrication. He told the repairman he went for a light swim in the neighborhood pool. The watch stopped ticking 10 minutes into his workout. The repairman inspected the device closely. He noticed the side dial was pulled all the way out. The man admitted he pulled the crown out to adjust the time while underwater. He argued the water should not have entered the hole just because he opened it. He claimed waterproof meant waterproof under all conditions. He demanded a new one. 10. A disorganized Karen marched into a stationery store with a floral wall calendar. She slammed it down and demanded to speak to the manager. She pointed angrily at the month of December. She shouted that there were holidays printed there that she did not celebrate. She claimed these extra dates were cluttering up her personal schedule. She felt attacked by the presence of foreign festivals. She asked why the paper company assumed she wanted to know about other cultures. She demanded a custom calendar with only her birthdays and appointments. She refused to use a product that acknowledged other people. 11. A tired woman walked into the home decor aisle with a fluffy white cushion. She found a small tag attached to the side seam. It read for decorative purposes only. She tracked down a sales associate immediately. She screamed that selling a pillow not meant for sleeping was illegal. She argued that a pillow has one job, and that is to support a head. She claimed the store was tricking people into buying useless fabric squares. She refused to accept that some items are just for looking pretty on a couch. She left the store claiming it was a false product. 12. An athletic young man posted a furious video about his expensive new running sneakers. He filmed his feet while sitting on a park bench. He complained that his laces came undone twice during a single-mile run. He blamed the manufacturer for lazy engineering principles. He believed the laces should have a built-in locking mechanism to prevent movement. He ignored the hundreds of comments telling him to learn a double knot. He claimed the strings were coated in a slippery substance to sabotage his workout. He demanded shoes that tied themselves like in the sci-fi movies. 13. A voracious reader stormed into the local library with a thick mystery novel. She slammed the book on the circulation desk. She told the librarian the author was terrible at organization. She explained that she read the final chapter first to see how many pages it had. She was furious that the ending revealed the killer immediately. She argued the book should be written so the end makes no sense without the beginning. She claimed the physical structure of the book ruined the surprise. She wanted books to come with the last pages sealed shut with heavy glue. 14. A clumsy home cook called the kitchenware hotline in a panic. He shouted that their professional blender was a dangerous weapon. He admitted he grabbed the metal blade assembly with his bare hand to wash it. He was shocked when the sharp steel cut his finger. He argued that kitchen appliances should be soft to the touch. He failed to understand how a dull blade would crush ice or puree fruit. He demanded a child-safe version that could still chop carrots. He threatened to sue them for making a product that actually did exactly what it was designed to do. 15. An aspiring spy wrote a 0-star review for a novelty invisible ink pen. He explained that he wrote a very important secret password on a piece of paper. He looked at the paper instantly and saw absolutely nothing. He was furious that the ink was actually invisible to the naked eye. He expected it to be visible to him but invisible to everyone else. He called the technology broken and useless for record keeping. He did not realize he needed a special ultraviolet light to reveal the message. He claimed he lost his password forever because of the pen. 16. A shivering woman returned an electric blanket to the department store. She threw the fleece bundle at the service desk. She complained that the blanket was defectively designed. She said only the left side of her bed got toasty warm. She claimed the right side stayed freezing cold all night long. The clerk checked the box and pointed out it was a dual control model for couples. The woman admitted she slept alone in the middle of the bed. She refused to turn on both controllers. She argued the blanket should know she was single and heat the whole thing. 17. A frustrated homeowner called the vacuum cleaner support line. He shouted that his machine was too efficient at picking up dirt. He complained that the dust bag filled up every single week. He found it annoying to walk to the trash can to empty the canister. He argued that a good vacuum should dissolve the dirt into thin air. He claimed the constant maintenance was a sign of a cheap product. He wanted a device that could hold 10 years' worth of dust without stopping. The agent tried to explain physics, but the man just kept yelling about the bag size. 18. A groggy office worker marched into an electronics shop with a digital alarm clock. He told the staff the device was sabotaging his career. He explained that every morning the clock offered him a snooze option. He pressed it 10 times in a row because it was so easy. He ended up being late for work every single day. He blamed the manufacturer for tempting him with 9 extra minutes of sleep. He argued the button should shock him instead of silencing the noise. He claimed the clock was designed to make him unemployed. He demanded a clock with no buttons. 19. An amateur chef wrote a scathing blog post about a famous frying pan brand. He bought their most expensive non-stick skillet. He cracked an egg directly onto the hot, dry surface. He watched in horror as the egg burned and stuck to the metal. He felt betrayed by the marketing term non-stick. He refused to use a single drop of butter or oil. He argued that the pan should be slippery like ice. He claimed the company was lying to the public. He threw the pan in the trash because he refused to add fat to his cooking process. 20. A city driver called the navigation app support team in a panic. He screamed that their satellite guidance tried to kill him. He was driving to a rural wedding and followed the blue line blindly. The app routed him down a dirt path and through an open gate. He found himself surrounded by a herd of curious cows. He blamed the software for not knowing he drove a small sedan. He argued the satellite should have seen the livestock from space. He refused to reverse the car. He demanded the support team call the farmer to move the animals immediately. 21. A stressed office worker called the furniture company to report a runaway chair. He explained that he stood up to grab a coffee, and the seat shot across the room like a rocket. He complained that the wheels were far too high quality and smooth. He hit his shin on the desk because the chair refused to stay put. He argued that a chair should have built-in friction to know when he was leaving. He claimed the smooth rolling mechanism was a safety hazard for his ankles. He demanded a chair with square wheels that would never move an inch. 22. A hungry bachelor stormed into the grocery store with an empty box of lasagna. He shouted that the cooking instructions were discriminatory against his kitchen situation. The box clearly stated to heat the meal in a microwave for 5 minutes. He explained that his microwave had been broken for 3 years. He tried to heat the plastic tray on a radiator instead. He complained that the pasta was still frozen in the middle. He blamed the food company for not providing alternative heating methods like a hairdryer. He demanded a refund for the meal he could not cook properly. 23. A soaked woman marched into the accessories shop dripping rainwater on the floor. She threw a mangled black umbrella at the cashier. She screamed that the product was defective because it could not withstand a hurricane. She admitted she walked directly into a 40-mile-per-hour wind tunnel. The canopy flipped inside out instantly. She argued that a good umbrella should act as a rigid shield against all elements. She refused to accept that wind physics applies to fabric. She claimed the metal ribs were made of paper. She demanded a concrete umbrella that would never bend. 24. A fitness enthusiast left a furious voicemail for the bathroom scale manufacturer. He stepped on the glass platform and saw a number that was way too high. He realized the device was displaying pounds instead of kilograms. He shouted that he did not have time to do mental math every morning. He felt the scale was intentionally trying to make him feel heavy. He ignored the small switch on the back that changes the unit of measurement. He claimed the machine was American propaganda designed to confuse him. He wanted a scale that could read his mind before displaying numbers. 25. A confused homeowner wrote a negative review for a high-tech doorbell. He bought the silent model that sends a notification to his phone instead of ringing. He complained that delivery drivers continued to knock on his wood door with their knuckles. He argued that the doorbell failed to stop people from using their hands. He believed the device should emit a force field that prevents knocking. He was angry that people assumed the bell was broken because it made no sound. He called it a waste of money because his dog still barked at the knocking noise. 26. A lazy teenager posted a rant on social media about his television remote. He was lying completely flat under a thick duvet cover. He tried to change the channel without moving his hand from under the blanket. He was furious that the signal did not travel through the heavy fabric. He complained that the infrared technology was ancient and inconvenient. He argued that he should not have to lift his arm to skip a commercial. He claimed the remote required too much physical exertion. He demanded a psychic remote that worked by telepathy so he could stay warm. 27. A frantic woman called the soup company legal department. She opened a can of tomato bisque and heated it on the stove until it bubbled. She took a massive spoonful immediately without blowing on it. She screamed that her tongue was now burnt and numb. She acknowledged the label warned that contents would be hot after heating. She argued that the soup should have a self-cooling mechanism before entering her mouth. She claimed the warning label was not big enough to stop her hunger. She threatened to sue them for making their product too compatible with heat. 28. An angry baker returned a carton of large eggs to the supermarket. He opened the lid and pointed to a single hairline crack in one shell. He shouted that he paid for 12 perfect eggs and received only 11 usable ones. The manager offered to replace the single egg. The man refused and demanded a full refund for the emotional distress. He argued that the broken shell ruined the aesthetic of the entire carton. He claimed he could not trust the other eggs anymore. He felt shortchanged by the fragile nature of poultry products. 29. A clumsy commuter stormed into the coffee shop with a stained shirt. He slammed his travel mug on the counter. He shouted that the spill-proof promise was a total lie. He admitted he took the lid off to add more sugar and then knocked the cup over. He argued that the mug should prevent spills even when the top is removed. He claimed the liquid defied gravity just to ruin his day. He failed to understand that the lid was the essential component of the safety feature. He demanded a cup that defied physics. 30. A bewildered senior citizen returned a mountain bike to the sporting goods store. He pointed at the handlebars and shook his head in disgust. He complained that having 21 gears was far too complicated for a Sunday ride. He explained that he shifted into the wrong gear and pedaled too fast. He argued that the bike was trying to outsmart him with technology. He claimed he did not want to solve a math problem just to ride up a hill. He demanded they remove all the gears and chains. He wanted a bike that just went forward. 31. A health-obsessed man stormed into the convenience store with a half-chewed piece of gum. He shouted that the packaging was a total fabrication. He bought the sugar-free peppermint flavor to maintain his strict diet. He chewed the gum and felt a burst of sweetness on his tongue. He argued that if it tastes sweet, it must contain real sugar. He claimed the company was playing mind games with his taste buds. He refused to believe that artificial sweeteners existed. He demanded a gum that tasted like absolutely nothing to prove it was healthy. He felt betrayed by the delicious flavor. 32. A jumpy librarian wrote a terrifying email to a hardware manufacturer. She installed a hydraulic door stop to keep the noise down. She complained that the mechanism allowed the door to close too slowly. She explained that the creeping motion looked like a ghost was entering the room. She admitted she screamed in terror every single time she looked up. She argued that a door should either be fully open or slammed shut. She claimed the slow motion was designed to induce heart attacks. She demanded a refund for the emotional damage caused by the spooky hinge. 33. A high-maintenance teenager marched into the salon holding a bottle of premium shampoo. She slammed it down and pointed at the label with her acrylic nail. The bottle clearly stated it was suitable for all hair types. She shouted that her hair was completely unique and not like anyone else. She felt insulted that the company grouped her in with the general population. She claimed her hair felt different after washing it. She argued that a generic product could not possibly understand her specific needs. She demanded a customized formula made only for her DNA. 34. A confused traveler stormed into a bookstore with a laminated map of the world. He unfolded the massive poster on the counter and grabbed a magnifying glass. He shouted that the cartographer was incompetent. He explained that he was trying to navigate to his house in the suburbs. He complained that his specific street name was missing from the continent of North America. He argued that a map of the world should include every single driveway. He claimed he was now lost because of the omission. He failed to understand the concept of global scale. 35. A hungry breakfast lover called the appliance hotline in a rage. He explained that his new toaster was actually a projectile weapon. He pushed the lever down to toast 2 slices of rye bread. When the timer finished, the machine launched the toast 3 feet into the air. He watched helplessly as his breakfast landed on the dusty kitchen floor. He argued that the ejection spring was far too enthusiastic. He claimed he needed a catcher mitt just to eat in the morning. He demanded a toaster that gently handed him the bread instead of throwing it. 36. An organized accountant wrote a furious letter to an electronics company. He bought a powerful electric fan to cool down his stuffy office. He turned the device on and disaster struck immediately. He screamed that his important tax documents flew all over the room. He blamed the fan for creating an unauthorized windstorm indoors. He argued that the machine should cool the air without moving it. He claimed the air pressure ruined his filing system. He failed to grasp that wind is literally the only way a fan works. He wanted a static, windless breeze. 37. A weeping bridesmaid stormed into the cosmetics department with a streaky face. She slammed a bottle of self-tanning lotion on the glass counter. She screamed that she looked like a walking pumpkin. She explained that she wanted a subtle, sun-kissed glow for the wedding. She applied 3 layers and woke up bright orange. She argued that the bottle did not explicitly say she would change color so drastically. She claimed the product was actually orange paint in disguise. She demanded the company pay for laser removal of the pigment before the ceremony started. 38. A frugal bachelor returned a single bar of lavender soap to the pharmacy. He held up the slightly used bar in a plastic bag. He shouted that the product was defective and shrinking. He explained that he washed his hands one time and the bar became smaller. He argued that he paid for a specific weight and now he had less. He claimed the soap was evaporating into thin air to force him to buy more. He failed to understand that friction wears things down. He demanded a permanent bar of soap that never dissolved. 39. An irritated man marched into a jewelry store with a purple hand. He pointed to his new luxury watch and grunted in pain. He shouted that the leather strap was cutting off his blood supply. The jeweler suggested loosening the buckle by 1 notch. The man refused and said he liked the aesthetic of the current hole. He argued that the watch should adjust its own molecular structure to fit him. He claimed the company made the strap too aggressive. He wanted a refund because he refused to wear a loose watch or admit his wrist size. 40. A frustrated dieter called the snack company customer service line. She was crunching loudly into the phone receiver. She shouted that their low-fat potato chips were a scam. She explained that she bought them to lose weight. She complained that the texture was exactly the same as the full-fat version. She argued that diet food should taste rubbery or soft to remind her of her sacrifice. She claimed the satisfying crunch tricked her brain into thinking she was cheating. She demanded a chip that tasted like cardboard so she would eat less of them. 41. A furious indoor gardener marched into the nursery with a ceramic pot. She screamed that the container had a catastrophic design flaw. She explained she watered her ficus tree in the living room. The water went straight through the soil and ruined her expensive white carpet. She pointed accusingly at the hole in the bottom of the pot. She argued that a container should contain things and not leak. She refused to use a plastic saucer underneath. She claimed the hole defeated the entire purpose of a bucket. She demanded a refund for the pot and her rug. 42. A panicked hobbyist called the adhesive hotline with his fingers stuck together. He shouted that the super glue worked far too efficiently. He explained he was trying to fix a broken vase. The pieces bonded the millisecond they touched each other. He complained that he had 0 time to adjust the angle. He argued the glue should offer a 5-minute hesitation period. He claimed the instant bond was a trap for people with slow reflexes. He demanded a solvent that could undo the past. He threatened to sue because his thumb was now part of the pottery. 43. A stressed mover stormed into the shipping store with a roll of packing tape. He slammed it down and shouted that the heavy-duty label was a lie. He tried to seal a heavy box of books. The tape snapped every time he pulled it tight. He complained that the adhesive strip had the structural integrity of wet tissue paper. He argued that heavy-duty implies it could hold a car together. He claimed the tape surrendered immediately under pressure. He demanded a roll of tape made of steel. He refused to double-layer the tape because of the cost. 44. An annoyed homeowner wrote a negative review for his smart refrigerator. He complained that the automatic ice maker was overly productive. He opened the freezer drawer and found an avalanche of cubes. He shouted that the machine had no self-control. He argued that he only needed ice for 1 drink a day. He claimed the freezer was now overcrowded with frozen water. He refused to turn the feature off manually. He expected the fridge to sense his thirst levels. He called the appliance an aggressive ice factory that wasted his electricity. 45. A sweaty gym-goer returned a stick of antiperspirant to the pharmacy. He held the half-used tube and waved it at the pharmacist. He shouted that the 48-hour protection claim was false advertising. He explained he applied it yesterday morning. He worked out twice and showered without reapplying. He smelled his armpit and detected a faint odor after only 24 hours. He argued that he should be able to skip hygiene for 2 full days. He claimed the company owed him for the missing day of freshness. He demanded a refund for the failed promise.
46.
A nervous office worker sent a frantic email to the keyboard manufacturer. He bought their silent model to appease his angry colleagues. He typed a report and noticed a very soft tapping sound. He screamed that the keys still made physical noise on impact. He complained that his coworkers glared at him with every keystroke. He argued that silent means absolute 0 decibels. He claimed the product was loud enough to wake a sleeping baby. He demanded a keyboard made of marshmallows or clouds. He felt betrayed by the existence of sound waves. 47. An irritated tourist marched into the souvenir shop wearing a wide sun hat. She tilted her head back and bumped the brim against her shoulders. She shouted that the hat was blinding her. She explained she tried to look up at the tall skyscrapers. The brim completely blocked her vertical vision. She argued that a hat should be transparent from the inside. She claimed the design prevented her from sightseeing effectively. She refused to take the hat off to look up. She demanded a hat that protected her from the sun, but vanished when she moved her neck. 48. A carpenter with a bandaged hand stormed into the hardware store. He threw a yellow tape measure on the counter. He shouted that the retraction spring was possessed by a demon. He extended the tape 10 feet and let go of the lock. The metal strip flew back at the speed of light. He complained that the metal tip attacked his thumb. He argued that the tool should gently reel itself in. He claimed the device was a finger trap in disguise. He demanded a manual tape measure that required winding by hand to ensure safety. 49. A rush hour commuter called the coffee company in a panic. He screamed that the term instant was completely misleading. He opened the jar and spooned the crystals into a mug. He waited for 10 seconds and nothing happened. He complained that he still had to boil water and pour it in. He argued that true instant coffee should manifest as liquid immediately. He claimed the boiling process took 3 whole minutes. He felt the extra step of adding water was too much labor. He demanded a powder that turned into hot espresso upon contact with air. 50. A shocked homeowner returned a box of LED light bulbs to the store. He waved his monthly utility bill in the cashier's face. He shouted that these bulbs were hidden money pits. He screwed them in and they illuminated the room perfectly. He complained that nobody told him they required actual electricity to function. He argued that the box only mentioned brightness and not the power source. He claimed the bulbs were parasitic devices draining his wallet. He demanded a wireless light bulb that ran on good vibes and positive energy. 51. A drowsy customer dragged a thick memory foam topper back to the bedding store. He yawned loudly while leaning on the counter. He shouted that the product was a hazard to his employment. He explained that he laid down for a quick nap and sank into the foam. He claimed the mattress hugged him so tight he could not physically stand up. He missed his morning shift because the bed refused to release him. He argued that comfort should not equal captivity. He demanded a topper that ejected him out of bed at 7 sharp. He felt trapped by the softness. 52. A confused technology user stormed into the mobile accessory shop. She slammed a rugged military-grade phone case on the glass. She shouted that the plastic brick was defective. She explained that she put it in her pocket without a phone inside. She tried to make a call by talking into the empty rubber shell. She complained that the case had no signal or screen. She argued that for $50, it should work as a backup device. She claimed the packaging was misleading about protection. She failed to realize it was just a jacket for a real phone. 53. A thrifty bachelor wrote a bizarre email to a hosiery company. He was furious that socks were exclusively sold in matching pairs. He explained that he lost one sock in the dryer vent. He was now left with a single useless sock that had no partner. He argued that the company was forcing him to waste fabric. He claimed he should be able to buy a left sock only. He accused them of a conspiracy to clutter his drawer. He demanded they sell socks individually to save the environment. He refused to wear mismatched socks on principle. 54. A messy home cook called the kitchen supply store in a rage. He held up a stainless steel cheese grater with 4 sides. He shouted that the metal box had a massive design failure. He rubbed a block of cheddar against the sharp side. He watched in horror as the shredded cheese fell through the holes into the center. He argued that the cheese should stay on the outside for easy access. He claimed the holes were essentially leaks in the metal. He demanded a solid grater without any openings. He wanted the cheese to just magically shred itself. 55. A disappointed homemaker returned a plastic air freshener to the supermarket. She waved the empty cone under the manager's nose. She shouted that the lavender scent had vanished after only 7 days. She admitted the gel had shriveled up completely. She argued that a product sold as a freshener should keep working forever. She claimed she did not subscribe to a weekly replacement service. She believed the plastic cone contained a perpetual smell generator. She felt scammed by the concept of evaporation. She demanded a device that smelled like flowers until the end of time without fading. 56. A frustrated mechanic stormed into the tool shop with a paper manual. He threw the booklet on the floor and stomped on it. He shouted that the instructions were written in a foreign code. He picked up the page and held it upside down to demonstrate. He complained that the English letters looked like nonsense symbols from this angle. He argued that a global company should print text that is legible from any direction. He claimed he could not work on his engine while doing a handstand. He demanded a manual that rotated its own text to match his eyes. 57. A furious parent marched into the toy store on Christmas morning. She slammed a remote control car on the counter. She shouted that the box was a box of lies. She explained her son cried because the car did not move. She admitted she saw the words, "batteries not included in small print." She argued that a toy without power is just a plastic brick. She claimed the store ruined the holiday by being cheap. She expected the manufacturer to include a nuclear power source. She demanded they open a pack of batteries and install them for free. 58. A hungry movie watcher called the popcorn hotline with soot on his face. He screamed that the paper bag gave him bad advice. He read the instruction that said, "Do not overcook." He set his microwave for 10 minutes just to be safe. He complained that the kitchen filled with black smoke. He argued that the bag should have physically stopped the microwave at the perfect moment. He claimed the warning label was too passive. He blamed the corn for being flammable. He demanded a bag that screamed out loud when the popping slowed down. 59. A bruised yoga instructor wrote a 1-star review for a fitness mat. She explained she was in the middle of a downward dog pose. She lost her balance and slid onto the hardwood floor. She shouted that the term non-slip was a legal contract. She argued that the rubber mat should have acted like super glue. She claimed she should be able to stand on the ceiling without falling. She failed to mention she had just applied lotion to her hands. She demanded a mat made of sandpaper to ensure total grip. 60. A sleepy student returned a pair of noise-canceling earbuds. He threw the charging case at the electronics clerk. He shouted that the technology worked too well. He explained that he wore them to bed to block out street noise. He woke up 3 hours late for his final exam. He complained that he could not hear his alarm clock ringing right next to him. He argued the earbuds should be smart enough to filter in important sounds. He claimed the silence cost him his degree. He demanded headphones that knew his schedule and woke him up. 61. A grumpy critic posted a comment on the video sharing platform. He scrolled through the entire list of 61 customer complaints. He shouted that the video was a total disappointment. He admitted that the title promised 61 items and delivered exactly that. He argued that getting exactly what he clicked for was incredibly boring. He claimed he expected a surprise 60-second bonus point. He felt the accuracy was too perfect and robotic. He demanded a refund of the time he spent watching. He wanted the list to lie to him just for fun. That concludes our deep dive into the absolute bottom of the human gene pool. It is honestly terrifying to realize these people are out there right now, driving cars and voting. If you survived this marathon of stupidity, please hit that like button and subscribe to Ridiculous Complaints for more sanity checks. Do not forget to ring the bell so you never miss the drama. Now tell me the truth. Have you ever met a Karen this delusional in real life? Or are you the one returning empty wrappers? Let me know in the comments.